John climbed the rocky slope as the twin suns set behind distant mountains. His camp lay half buried in the red dust of the plain. He felt the cool wind on his face and heard the soft hum of his makeshift shelter. Around him, metal plates and, broken crates from a fallen supply pod gleamed in the dying light. He walked to the edge of the camp and noticed a small form on the ground. At first, he thought it was a rock or a piece of debris. Then he heard a faint whimper. John knelt and peered behind a rusted panel. There lay a tiny creature, no larger than a human child, with soft, pale fur and wide black eyes. Its hind legs were bent at strange angles and it writhed in pain. John's heart tightened. He reached out his hand slowly. The cub froze and stared at him, eyes full of fear. John spoke in a low voice. "I'm not here to hurt you." His words sounded simple and plain, but the cub seemed to still for a moment. Cautiously, John lifted the cub into his arms. The creature trembled but did not struggle. John noticed how light it was and how its breathing was shallow. He carried it back to the camp, careful not to jostle its injured legs. Inside the tent, Lisa looked up from her workbench. She had stacks of parts and wire loops all around her. When she saw John enter with the cub, she froze. She had heard rumors of strange beasts on the plain, but she had never seen one. "What did you find?" she asked. Her voice calmed. John laid the cub gently on a piece of cloth. The cub whimpered again, pressing its head into the fabric. Its eyes stayed on John. "It was alone out there," he said. "Its legs are broken. We can't leave it like this." Lisa moved closer, her eyes softening. "It might be dangerous. We don't know its kind." John shook his head. "It's hurt and afraid. I think it needs help." He reached to stroke the cub's head. The cub flinched, but then leaned into his touch. Lisa sighed and pulled out a small data pad. She tapped a few commands and pulled up known alien species. "This matches the description of a Greeka cub," she said quietly. "They are not hostile unless cornered, but they can bite if they feel threatened." John nodded. "We will be careful." "But I can't just leave it." Lisa studied the cub's limbs. "Its hind joints are damaged. Maybe from a fall or attack. We need to stabilize them before they swell." John looked around the camp. Broken metal beams, spare circuits, old tools. He found 2 metal rods and some fabric strips. He wrapped the rods gently around the cub's legs like a splint. "This will hold for now," John said, binding the strips tight but not too tight. The cub hissed quietly, but remained still. As night fell, John built a small fire outside the tent. He roasted some ration cubes over the flame. The smell was simple but warm. Lisa filled a small dish with water and offered it to the cub. After a moment of hesitation, the cub licked the water gratefully. John broke one piece of the ration cube and held it out. The cub stared at it, then sniffed. Hunger must have outweighed fear. It took the piece gently and chewed slowly. John smiled. "See, you're safe here." The cub finished the food and looked up at John, its black eyes shining. John felt a wave of compassion wash over him. He had come to this remote world for danger and profit, not for caring for a wounded alien. Yet, here he was, offering kindness. Lisa packed away her tools and sat by the fire. The 2 humans watched the cub rest on the cloth. It curled up with its head on its front paws and closed its eyes. John stared into the flames and thought of why the cub had left alone. Maybe its parents had died in the attack. Maybe it had been abandoned out of fear. In any case, it had no one now. Lisa broke the silence. "If we help it, other people will notice. They might take it for study." John nodded slowly. "I know, but I can't let them harm it. Whoever comes, I will stand in their way." Lisa looked at him, surprised by his determination. "You really care for it," John shrugged. "I care for those who cannot help themselves." Outside, the twin moons rose above the jagged horizon. The camp was quiet except for the crackle of the fire. John and Lisa sat together, each lost in thought. The cub slept soundly, its small body calm for the first time since John found it. As the hour grew late, John stood and covered the cub with a blanket. Lisa extinguished the fire and secured the tent flap. They each retreated to their own sleeping bags, leaving the cub in their care. John lay awake, listening to the soft breathing of the cub and Lisa's steady sleep. He wondered how he would build new legs for the creature. He had little experience with alien biology, but if he could learn, he would give the cub a chance to walk again. Slowly, John closed his eyes, his last thoughts of the cub's bright gaze. He had come seeking adventure, but he found something more, a chance to give hope. And hope, he knew, was worth fighting for. Morning light filtered through the tent flap. John stirred and unzipped his sleeping bag. The cub slept in a small nest of blankets, its mechanical splints still in place. John smiled softly and knelt beside it. He touched its head, and the cub opened one eye. Lisa was already awake, sorting parts at the workbench. She looked up when John entered. "I made coffee," she said, holding a steaming mug. John took the mug and nodded. "We need a plan. I want to build real legs for the cub." Lisa sat back and sipped her coffee. "We need blueprints of Greeka limbs. I can scan what we saw on that data pad, but it is only basic. We need more detail." John sighed. "We have no reference. We must learn from the cub itself." Lisa frowned. "Do you mean experiment?" John held up a hand. "Nothing cruel. I will observe how it moves its front legs, its muscles and bones." "Maybe I can copy the design." Lisa thought a moment. "We have to work fast. The researchers at the base will come soon. They might send scouts today." John nodded. "Then we start now." He picked up the cub and carried it to the open area outside the camp. The cub strained against his arms, curious. John laid it gently on a padded mat. The cub sniffed the air and looked around. John let go slowly. The cub tried to stand on its front legs. It managed to push itself up. Its hind legs dangled but did not touch the ground. John knelt and watched its muscles flex under pale fur. Lisa arrived with a handheld scanner. She moved around the cub, scanning its hips, thighs, and joints. The scanner beeped and wrote data to a small drive. John helped the cub push forward on its front legs, then let it rest. Each time, the cub breathed hard but refused to give up. John whispered ENCOURAGEMENS after 2 hours of gentle probing. They had collected enough data. The cub rested on the mat, panting softly. John laid a wet cloth on its fur to cool it. Lisa checked the drive. "We have detailed scans. I can feed this to the 3D printer and make prototype parts." John smiled. "Good, let's go to work." Inside the workshop, Lisa fed the data to the printer. Metal powder cartridges lined the shelf. The machine whirred and glowed as it fused parts layer by layer. John studied the cub. He sketched notes on paper: length of femur, angle of hip joint, location of muscle attachments. He used simple rulers and calipers. The printer finished its first run. Lisa removed the parts, curved metal frames shaped like alien bones. She polished them carefully. "These fit well," she said, placing them next to John's sketches. John examined the parts. "We need actuators to move the joints. Motor small enough to fit but strong enough to support its weight." Lisa nodded. She opened a crate of motors from the supply pod. She tested each one, listening to the whir of spinning coils. She chose 2 small but powerful units. They worked side by side. John attached motor mounts to the frames. Lisa wired the motors to a control unit. She used loose wires, circuit boards, and power cells. As dusk approached, they had 2 nearly complete prototype legs. Each looked like a mix of bone and machine. The frames curved like Greeka femurs, with pistons at the knee and hip joints. John carried the cub back to the mat. He gently removed the fabric splints from its broken legs. The cub hissed but did not pull away. John held one prototype leg next to the cub's left thigh. He aligned the joint and whispered, "Okay, little one." Lisa secured the frame with soft straps. She connected the motor leads to the control pack on the cub's back. John did the same on the right side. The cub looked strange, with metal bones replacing its own. It flexed the new limbs tentatively. On the control pack, buttons glowed softly. John pressed a button. A motor hummed. The cub felt the movement and pulled its left leg forward. It stumbled but did not fall. John and Lisa exchanged excited looks. They steadied the cub. John pressed another button, and the cub's right leg moved too. The cub tried. Again, this time it lifted both legs and hopped forward a short distance. Its black eyes widened with surprise, then joy. It practiced small hops down the mat. Each jump was a triumph. John cheered softly. Lisa clapped her hands. But then the cub's foot slipped. It fell, twisting the stub of its own leg. It snarled in pain and fear. John and Lisa rushed to its side. John held the cub close and soothed. Lisa checked the mounts. One screw had come loose. I need to reinforce these brackets, she said. We will use stronger alloys. John nodded and held the cub. After a few minutes, the cub's breathing slowed. It nuzzled John's shoulder. Lisa modified the design on her pad. She swapped the brackets for reinforced parts and set the printer to work again. John stroked the cub's head. You have done well. We will make it better. The cub closed its eyes in trust. John smiled and whispered, Tomorrow you will run. Lisa fixed a small camera on a tripod. She recorded John's care, the cub's progress, and the new leg test. She planned to hide the footage if researchers came. Night came. John and Lisa slept little, dreaming of the cub running free. They left the tent flap open for fresh air. John woke to the cub's soft purr. He unzipped his bag and saw the cub standing, unassisted on its front legs, its new frames beside it. He shook Lisa awake. It's awake, he said. Lisa rubbed her eyes. Let's check. They found the cub resting between the new legs, its eyes bright. It moved its front legs and looked at them. John whispered, Soon, little one. As they prepared parts and plans for the next day, John felt hope. They had built first prototypes. Tomorrow they would test the improved frames. They would teach the cub to run. And through it all, John remembered why he had begun this journey, to help a lonely creature. Walk again. Dawn came cold over the dusty plain. John stepped outside the tent with a tray of parts. Lisa followed with a mug of warm water and a soft cloth. The cub lay on its side, its new legs folded neatly beneath it. The frames were stronger now, with reinforced brackets and smoother joints. John knelt and spoke softly. Today you will run. He touched the control pack on the cub's back. The lights glowed steady. Lisa adjusted the settings on her scanner. I have programmed variable speeds. You can choose how fast to go. The cub lifted its head and blinked. It flexed its front legs and pushed up. With careful help from John, it rose to all four limbs. The new legs felt lighter to it. John moved away and watched. Lisa stood beside him, her arms crossed but her eyes bright with hope. The cub tested one leg, then the other. It wobbled but held itself up. A small chirp escaped its throat. Then it shifted weight to its hind legs and lifted its front legs in the air. It balanced on the metal frames for a moment before collapsing forward onto all four. John laughed softly. Good job. Lisa smiled and took a step back. She pressed a button on her tablet. The motors whirred, giving a gentle push. The cub felt the movement and braced itself. It lifted one leg, then the other. It moved forward in a slow shuffle. Each step was clumsy but real. The cub covered a few feet and stopped. It looked at John, then at Lisa, as if surprised it could move. John clapped his hands. You did it. The cub hopped again, and this time managed a little trot. Dust rose from the ground as it moved. The twin suns shone down, casting long shadows. Lisa recorded the moment. We will refine this design tomorrow. But this is proof of concept. The cub returned to John and rubbed its head against his leg. John knelt and stroked its fur. You are brave. Lisa walked around the cub, checking screws and clamps. All parts are secure, but we need to monitor weight distribution on longer runs. John nodded. We will build a harness for safety next. They spent the morning adjusting straps and testing controls. The cub ran longer distances, its confidence growing. By midday, it circled the camp twice before stopping to rest. John offered water in a small dish. The cub drank greedily, then flopped on its side, panting. Lisa wiped its brow and cleaned dirt from the gears. John pointed to the distant hills. Soon you will run to those rocks. The cub tracked the hills with curious eyes. It pressed its muzzle into John's hand. Lisa checked the scanner data. All readings are stable. No overheating. You have a good pilot, John laughed. I am not driving. It drives itself. He smiled at the cub. A sudden noise broke the calm. A low rumble from the horizon. John and Lisa froze. They recognized the sound of hovercraft engines. John stood and looked toward the hills. A patrol of small hovercraft moved in formation across the plain, kicking up dust. He cupped his hands to his mouth. Research scouts. Lisa's face hardened. They will try to take the cub. John grabbed a cloth and covered the cub. Hide it. Lisa shook her head. They will scan every tent. John thought fast. He gathered parts and tools. We need to move the cub to the old storage vault. It is shielded against scanners. Lisa nodded. Lead the way. They lifted the cub carefully. John slung it in a supply case he had modified for fragile cargo. Lisa carried extra parts in a backpack. The hovercraft came closer, their engines loud now. John and Lisa slipped into the shadow of a collapsed wall. They moved quickly toward the vault, a half-buried structure from an old mining facility. Inside the vault, darkness lay thick. Lisa switched on a lantern. They placed the case on a shelf behind crates and spare panels. John adjusted more shields around the entrance to block scans. Lisa secured the door. They will not find it here, John exhaled. Good, now we keep working quietly. They returned to the camp, leaving no trace of their passage. The patrol hovered overhead, shining searchlights over the tents. John ducked behind his shelter. Lisa flattened herself against the ground. The scouts landed and began checking the camp. One guard tapped on John's door. Lisa held her breath as the guard entered. Inside, the guard scanned with a handheld device. John sat, coffee mug in hand, pretending to rest. The guard looked around. We received a signal. Something moved here. John offered the mug. Just cooling machines. The guard frowned, waved the scanner over the table. I see nothing. He turned and left. John breathed. Lisa peeked from outside. Clear? She said softly. They waited until the hovercraft left in a line. Their dust trail faded in the distance. John and Lisa met by the vault door. Lisa led the way inside. John opened the case. The cub peered out, its eyes bright. John knelt and lifted the cub. It licked his face. He laughed. You are safe. Lisa patted its new frame. We have time now. Let us continue your training. John nodded. Tomorrow we test the harness. The cub purred and closed its eyes in contentment. Outside the twin sunset, John and Lisa packed tools back in the camp. The cub rested in the vault, dreaming of running free on its own mechanical legs. John woke before sunrise and walked to the vault entrance. The cub lay curled on a pile of blankets, its breathing calm. John knelt and brushed a tuft of pale fur from its face. He whispered, Today we try the harness. Lisa joined him, carrying a new device made of light alloy frames and padded straps. She set the harness on a crate and explained, This will keep the cub safe if it falls. It links to the control pack. John lifted the cub and settled it into the harness. The padded straps hugged its chest and back. John clicked buckles and adjusted loops until the cub could move its front legs freely. Lisa connected the harness lines to 4 anchor points on the mat. The cub tilted its head, sniffing at the harness. It tried to stand, its new legs rigid, but willing. John and Lisa steadied it until it found balance. John stepped back and touched the control pack. The motors hummed softly, lifting tension on the harness lines. The cub stepped forward 1 foot at a time. Each motion was deliberate. It walks, Lisa said, her voice soft. John smiled and pressed another button. The line tension eased further, letting the cub try small runs while the harness caught any slip. The cub's ears flattened in concentration. As it ran 3 paces, then 5. Dust kicked up beneath its feet. The harness cables flexed and guided its movement. The cub pranced in a circle around the mat, as if playing a game. John cheered quietly. Lisa clapped, careful not to startle the cub. After a few circuits, the cub stopped. It panted but seemed eager. John nodded, satisfied. We will increase speed tomorrow, Lisa took notes. All joints stable. No leaks or overheating. John removed the harness straps. The cub shook itself free, then pressed into John's leg. They spent the morning reinforcing the harness design and testing new sensors to measure strain. John and Lisa worked side by side, their teamwork seamless. Midday, they heard a distant roar. Hovercraft returned, this time from multiple directions. John and Lisa exchanged worried looks. They are surrounding the camp, John said. Lisa grabbed her scanner. They may have detection shields now. They will find the cub if we leave it here, John nodded. We move it to the narrow canyon. Rocks will hide it from above. They loaded the cub into a transport crate on John's modified rover. Lisa packed tools and extra parts in the bed. John started the engine. It rumbled to life. They drove across the plain, dust swirling behind them. The hovercraft searchlights cut through the haze, sweeping the ground. Lisa guided John by radio, pointing out safe paths. They reached the canyon mouth. Towering rocks formed a natural barrier. John drove between them, and the hovercraft could not follow. Lisa opened the crate. The cub peered out, alert. John lifted it gently. You are safe now. They set up camp deep in the canyon. John used tarps and branches to break the view from above. Lisa built camouflage nets over the rover. As night fell, John and Lisa shared a simple meal. The cub lay nearby, its new harness and frames resting at its side. John looked at Lisa. We cannot stay here forever, Lisa nodded. We need a plan to get the cub off-world, somewhere it can be safe. John thought of the old freighter in orbit. Its captain, a friend named Rachel, owed him a favor. If they could reach orbit, Rachel might smuggle the cub to a sanctuary. Lisa frowned. We have no clearance. The research fleet is patrolling the lanes. John sipped water. We will go at dawn and use the old smuggler route. It's risky. But possible, Lisa sighed. For the cub, I will try anything. John smiled. I know. The cub chirped and nuzzled John's hand. It sensed their plans. After eating, Lisa returned to her tools. She modified the control pack to hide its signal. John studied star charts plotting the smuggler route. Small hovercraft zoomed overhead, their lights flicking in the canyon mouth. John held his breath until the engines faded away. Lisa covered the crate with a tarp. They did not enter. John relaxed. They may have given up, or they are looking somewhere else. They bunked down under the netted camo. John slept lightly, one ear on the wind. Lisa dreamed of the cub running on its own legs. Dawn's first light showed pink on the canyon walls. John and Lisa packed gear in silence. The cub sat alert, eyes bright. John lifted the cub into the crate. Lisa sealed it and secured it in the rover's bed. John checked the engine. It started with a roar. They rolled out of the canyon, careful. On the rocky ground. The hovercraft were nowhere in sight. At the rim of the plain, they paused. The twin suns rose, burning gold. John looked at Lisa. You ready? Lisa gripped the wheel. Let's go. They sped across the plain toward the launch platform. The atmosphere burned. They raced the patrols. Behind them, hovercraft appeared. On the horizon, red searchlights scanning. John cranked the rover's turbo boost. They soared across the plain in a cloud of dust. The launch platform came into view, a tall tower with a small freighter docked at its top. Lisa radioed Rachel. We are almost there, Rachel's voice crackled back. Hold fast, I'll unlock the gate. John aimed the rover at the gate's opening. They reached the wall and John hit a switch. The gate slid open. They raced inside. Lisa hit the brakes, and the rover skidded to a stop beside the freighter. Rachel and two deckhands ran over and lifted the crate. They carried it aboard the ship. John and Lisa followed, breathing hard but smiling. Rachel grinned. Nice work, you got the cub aboard. Lisa patted the crate. It's your turn now. Inside the freighter's hold, the crate sat under soft lights. Rachel entered the code. The lid opened. The cub looked up, curious. Rachel knelt. Hello, little one. She lifted the cub and held it close. The cub nuzzled her. John put a hand on Rachel's shoulder. Thank you. Rachel shook her head. This is your gift. Now go. Leave before the patrols close in. John and Lisa hurried up the ramp to the surface. The rover, their only ride, disappeared into the haze. At the command console, Rachel spun a dial. The freighter's engines ignited. The ship lifted off with a roar. John and Lisa watched from below as the ship climbed into the sky. The cub's small form pressed against the viewport as the ship disappeared above the clouds. John took Lisa's hand. It is safe now. Lisa squeezed his hand. You did it. They turned away from the launch pad. The twin suns shone above the plane as they walked back toward the canyon. A journey to help a small alien cub had changed their own lives. They knew their adventure was not over, but for now, hope moved with wings of steel. Dawnlight filtered through the freighter's small viewport. Rachel carried the cub from the crate into her cabin. It stretched its new legs and chirped softly. The cabin walls were lined with supplies and maps of many worlds. Rachel set the cub on a padded bench. She smiled. You are safe with me. The cub sniffed the bench and circled once, testing its balance. Then it sat and looked at her. John and Lisa entered the cabin. John knelt beside the cub. You have come far, he said. The cub chirped and nuzzled his hand. Lisa watched, eyes bright. Its gait is steady. The new frames work. Rachel poured water in a small bowl. The cub lapped it carefully. John handed it a small piece of ration meat. It ate with small bites, its tail wagging. Lisa pulled a small scanner from her pocket. She scanned the cub's frames and control pack. All systems normal, no glitches. She tapped her pad. I will send this data to the sanctuary, Rachel nodded. We have cleared customs. No one will stop me. We reached the sanctuary in 2 days, she pointed at a star chart on the wall. On this course, we pass through the neutral zone. It is safe, but scanners are frequent. John studied the chart. We must avoid patrol routes. Rachel traced a route. We will go low orbit, then slip through a hidden tunnel in the nebula. Lisa looked at the cub. It will rest here. We keep the crate on standby. Rachel opened a hatch to the main hold. The crate lay against the wall. The cub chirped and hopped inside by itself. Lisa and John smiled. It settled down, its front paws over the edge. Rachel closed the hatch. We depart at first light. John and Lisa left the cabin. They found a corner of the hold and set up a small workbench. John unfolded blueprints. Lisa organized spare parts. The hold was quiet. Only the hum of the engines and the cub's soft breathing. Lisa tapped her tablet. I will refine the control software so the cub can adjust its speed. John nodded. We can also fit a sensor to measure its balance in real time. They worked late into the night. Occasionally they heard footsteps and the whir of ship systems. The cub chirped in its sleep. At dawn, Rachel called them to the cockpit. We are ready. John and Lisa entered. Rachel's hands danced over controls. The freighter rumbled as it left the docking port. Outside, space stretched in all directions. Planets, asteroids, and distant suns lit the dark. John sat beside Lisa. This feels different, more hopeful, Lisa smiled. Because it is, Rachel engaged stealth engines. The freighter glowed dimly as it slipped into low orbit. Screens showed patrol patterns. Rachel guided the ship along the planned route. 2 hours passed. The freighter hovered near a gas cloud shaped like a tunnel. Rachel shut down most systems and the ship drifted silently inside. Lights flickered as gas brushed the hull. Outside view screens displayed glowing clouds. Rachel navigated the tunnel's winding path. After tense moments, they emerged on the other side, a silent nebula field dotted with rocky outcrops. Rachel switched back to normal engines. We made it, John clapped her shoulder. Nice flying. Lisa checked readings. Course to Sanctuary is clear. They spent the rest of the day in the cabin. Rachel unlocked a crate. The cub stepped out onto the floor. Its metal frames gleamed in the cabin light. It looked at John and Lisa, then chirped once. It hopped forward and nudged Lisa's hand. Lisa. Knelt, ready to go home? The cub chirped again and hopped around her. Lisa laughed. John joined them, and Rachel watched with pride. The freighter crossed empty space for another day. John and Lisa monitored the cub's progress. Each hop was more confident than the last. As night fell on the bridge, Rachel stared at the stars ahead. Sanctuary ahead, she said. Sensors showed a distant planet with rings of blue ice. Beside it, a small station floated in orbit, bathed in soft green light. Lisa tuned the engines for descent. Prepare for docking. John checked his backpack. It held a small gift, a carved metal paw from the cub's first broken leg. He planned to give it to the sanctuary leaders. Rachel guided the ship through orbital space. Docking clamps extended and sealed on the station's hull. The hold hatch opened. The cub bounded out and chirped at the view, a large dome of transparent material surrounded by trees and glistening pools. John stepped forward. Welcome home. Lisa held out her hand. The cub hopped onto it and looked at them both. You will be safe now, she whispered. Rachel opened a hatch to the station's interior. A group of tall beings with pale skin and gentle eyes waited. They wore simple robes and carried data tablets. One stepped forward. You have our thanks. The cub is a miracle. John handed her the metal paw. We wanted you to have this. She took it and studied it softly. Lisa explained. We built its legs so it could run again. The alien leader nodded. You showed compassion and skill. You are welcome here. She gestured to a garden beyond. The cub hopped from Lisa's hand and ran across the deck, its new legs carrying it swiftly. John, Lisa, and Rachel followed, smiles bright. The station's air smelled of flowers and fresh rain. The cub paused at the edge of a pool, its reflection clear in the water. John knelt beside it. Look at you. The cub chirped happily. Lisa and Rachel joined him. The alien leader spoke again. The sanctuary cares for all beings in need. You have added hope to our world. John felt warmth in his chest. We only wanted to help, Lisa nodded. And you will continue its care from here. The cub chirped and ran to the trees. It leaped over small streams, testing its strength. John, Lisa, and Rachel watched as it found its freedom. The twin suns cast golden light through the dome. Birds of many colors flew above. The cub stopped in a sunbeam and looked skyward. John wrapped an arm around Lisa. We did good. Rachel smiled. This is only the beginning. Together, they watched the cub run free, a testament to kindness between worlds. The cub explored the sanctuary grounds at dawn. It ran across soft grass, its mechanical legs moving smoothly. John and Lisa watched from the entry gate. The sun shone warm on their faces. John knelt and touched the cub's head. Look how far you have come, he said quietly. Lisa smiled and patted the cub's back. You walk like any creature here. The cub turned and chirped. Then it ran to a small group of children, both human and alien. They watched in awe as the cub hopped and spun in joy. One girl approached and held out a toy ball. The cub nudged the ball and pushed it gently. The children laughed and clapped. John and Lisa felt tears in their eyes. They stepped back to let the cub play. Around them, the sanctuary hummed with life. Tall trees grew in organized rows and clear pools reflected the sky. Rachel appeared beside them. She carried 2 mugs of warm tea. You did well, she said. She handed a mug to John. John took it and sipped. The tea smelled sweet. Lisa hugged Rachel. Thank you for helping us, Rachel shrugged. I could not watch from space. The cub needed friends, John nodded. We learned much from these people. They saved our cub too. An elder approached, wearing simple robes. Her eyes were kind. She bowed to John and Lisa. You have shown great courage and love. This sanctuary will honor you. John and Lisa bowed in return. The elder led them to a pavilion. Inside lay a small plaque of polished stone. It read, To John and Lisa, friends of the Greeka cub. Your kindness gave hope. John placed the metal paw from the cub's first leg beside the plaque. Lisa held John's hand. Tears fell on her cheek. Outside, the cub raced to a pond. It looked into the water and saw its own reflection. It tilted its head, testing its balance. Then it jumped, sending ripples across the water. John and Lisa joined Rachel on a veranda. They watched the cub grow confident and free. The sanctuary's gentle breeze carried the cub's chirps. Lisa spoke softly. I will stay here for a while. I want to help care for others. John nodded, though his heart felt heavy. I understand. I will keep traveling, but I will return. Rachel put an arm around John. We will always be here for you. This station is your home now. John smiled and sipped his tea. He looked at Lisa. I will build better legs for more creatures. She squeezed his hand. And I will teach more guardians. The cub paused and looked at them. It chirped twice as if saying farewell. Then it turned and ran back to the children. John and Lisa stood. They walked to a shuttle pad on the edge of the sanctuary. The small vessel waited, engines humming gently. Rachel waved from the docks. John and Lisa boarded the shuttle. They sat side by side, watching the sanctuary shrink below them. The shuttle lifted, carrying them into the sky. Sunlight glinted off the dome roof of the station. The cub's chirps faded with distance. John looked at Lisa. We made a difference. Lisa held his hand. Yes, we did. Outside the window, the sanctuary sat on a small moon, peaceful under the blue ring of ice. Behind them, space stretched in all directions. John set his course for new worlds. Lisa plotted future missions. Together they would help more beings who needed hope and legs to stand on dawn as the shuttle flew into the void. The cub's story spread across the galaxy, a tale of kindness between species, and a human who built new legs for a small alien heart.